Well, it has been nearly 6 weeks since the first phase of Texas reopening, and we have been lucky in Lubbock with numbers that have been steadily declining. But now we'd like to get a better perspective on the situation as a whole in Texas from Governor Greg Abbott. He joins us live from Austin. Thank you, Governor, for being with us.
Oh, my pleasure. Great to visit with you. Thank you so much.
You know, the question I hear more often from everybody, and I'm sure you hear the same one, is when are we going to get back to normal? How do you answer that?
Well, the answer is as soon as possible. Listen, there's several stages along the way. One stage that they were just talking about, and that is the stage when we do have medicines that are able to treat people who test positive for COVID-19, and then immunizations later on. Between now and then, we must coexist with COVID, and that what that does require is that we continue to maintain the safe distancing practices, hand sanitization, as well as wearing face masks. Listen, Lubbock has done a very good job, and the entire region. If you see what's been done in Amarillo about the ability to contain the spread of COVID-19 and the aftermath of it existing at meatpacking plants, that's been remarkable. That said, we have seen an all-time high today in the number of people testing positive for COVID-19 in Texas, and we also see record highs in the number of people hospitalized. So people need to realize COVID-19 hasn't suddenly left the state of Texas. It still exists. And so whatever people are doing in Lubbock that is working, they need to continue to do that.
The hospitalization, Governor, and national media has really taken a shot at Texas, saying we've had a couple of record days with high numbers here. Are you concerned about an increase in hospitalizations over Texas? Texas is a big state. A lot of people wonder maybe we should have more in the hospitals here. What do you think?
I'm concerned, but I'm not alarmed. I can give you some quick numbers. In Lubbock, for example, there are 8 patients in the hospital for COVID-19, but you have 243 beds that are available. And the same is true similarly with regard to other cities around the state of Texas. There are patients in the hospital, but we have an abundant hospital capacity supply as a result. Texas will never be in a situation like what New York and New Jersey were in, so we will be able to take care of the people who test positive for COVID-19.
Give us some numbers. I appreciate numbers. We give numbers every night on the news. I think some people are getting sick of hearing the numbers. What do you say to them? Should we continue that? Is that important for people to hear these numbers every night?
You know, the numbers are getting old. It is important for people like me who need to track this and monitor it to make sure that we are deploying the resources that are needed to contain the spread of COVID-19. In a way, it's important for the public to know so that they are aware. Are things getting better? Are things still challenging? And again, I just need to double down on the importance that until we have medicines that are able to treat COVID-19, it is so important, whether you're in Lubbock or some other place, that we continue to maintain these safe distancing practices so that we can get from here to the point of time of medicines without burdening our hospitals too much, without losing lives, while maintaining safety so that we will be able to open school on time.
Okay, let's talk about football. This is football country, Red Raider country. We want to have our football games in the fall. Are we going to be able to do that? And if so, how do you envision football at Red Raider Nation?
All I can say is guns up and wreck them. That's exactly what's going to be happening this fall, because I announced last week that football stadiums like the one you have there for Texas Tech will be able to have capacity sitting of up to at least 50, that's 50%, of the people in attendance. I'm working with the Big 12 as well as with the athletic directors to make sure that they have safe strategies in place that will reduce the spread of COVID-19. But we do plan on having a full football season, having the games start on time, on schedule, with fans in stands.
You know, New York is facing a big economic loss after COVID-19 and jobs loss, and I know we have somewhat in Texas as well, but how do you envision this as far as revenue shortfalls because of COVID for Texas? How are we doing?
Listen, there will be revenue shortfalls in part because of COVID, but also in part because of the extreme downturn in the price of oil and gas. That said, once again, you can see Texas lead the way forward economically. Remember this, and that is before COVID-19, Texas was the #1 state in the United States for job creation and for gross domestic product. We saw something come out last week for the month of May. The #1 airport in the entire world was the DFW airport. And so, once again, Texas and our economy, they are leading the way out in the aftermath of COVID-19.
And let me ask you about the George Floyd, death of George Floyd. You hinted yesterday that there may be a George Floyd Act in Texas. What would that include, and would it include police reform?
Well, so I had the opportunity to visit privately with the George Floyd family in their home and talk to them at length about what it is that they wanted to see come in the aftermath of the brutal murder of George Floyd. And one was to state the obvious, and that is to make sure that no one is ever killed the way that George Floyd was killed. And that would be one strategy of police reform. Already we are seeing reforms both in cities as well as in police departments to make sure that they are taking appropriate standards as well as restraints so that they don't use unnecessary force when it simply is not needed. But I'm going to be talking with legislators to make sure that Texas as a state will be enacting the reforms that are necessary so that we can engender the trust and confidence that the public needs to have in our police forces.
Well, that sounds great. And also, I just have to end with one last question about COVID-19. When do you think that you might tell us we can go back to 100% occupancy? Can you give us a day that you're hoping for?
Well, I'm hoping for around July, let's say 4th of July. But here's the deal, and that is with the increase of COVID-19 cases, we've got to see what's going to happen in the aftermath of those testing positive after Memorial Day, as well as after across the state, hundreds of thousands of people coming together for these protests, and see whether or not there is a spike and see how we can contain it. If we can contain that, then we will be able to move forward very quickly and opening up for business even more.
I hope so. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you all, and be safe out there.
Thank you. You too. Stay well. Governor Greg Abbott speaking by phone from Austin.